gallery. Today's discussion is regarding some information I received out of a book, which is displayed in the comments below and looks like this. It's a godsend, especially if you've ever been involved in any kind of abusive relationship, or perhaps if you're currently involved in an abusive relationship. The question we many times come up with is, why do we stay in this abusive relationship? Now, there could be financial reasons like a child or a house or a combination, but I think in this book, which is by George Simon Jr., PhD, and it's very informative, it answered a lot of questions I had when I was dealing with actually a few long-term abusive type situations, which I'm a survivor of, not a victim. But I thought I would go over an interesting concept that Dr. Simon brings up in his book, and that is called the slot machine syndrome. And he says that there's a syndrome that can develop in abusive, manipulative relationships that prompts the victim to stay even when they've often thought about leaving. And he calls it the slot machine syndrome. And anyone who's played one of those one-armed bandits knows that it's difficult to stop pulling that lever when you're even when you're losing badly. And he's stating that there are primarily 4 reasons why a person gets trapped in this syndrome. First, there's an appeal of the jackpot. People often jump at the chance to get a lot of something that's very valuable to them for what initially appears a relatively small investment. Second, whether or not you will get anything for your efforts depends on the degree to which you're willing to respond, which basically means when you're putting the money in the machine, you're responding. And you have to do a lot of that to even have a chance at winning. So third, every now and then a cherry or some other small jackpot appears and you win a little something. This reinforces the idea that your investment is not for naught and that winning a larger payoff is really possible if you just keep investing. Fourth, after you've been worn down by the machine's abuse and are tempted to walk away, you're faced with the most difficult dilemma. If you leave behind a substantial investment. You not only walk away from your abuser, but a huge chunk of yourself. To disengage with nothing to show for your time and energy but a broken spirit is hard to do. You're tempted to delude yourself by saying, if I just put in one more quarter. And that's the way I've seen it work with abusive relationships. You've got the little good things that come up here and there, and then you got the bad things, and you think, well, if I do this right here, that'll make another payoff, and sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. And if we're dealing with an abusive narcissist or any one of the cluster B personalities, that's a common reality. But I highly recommend the book called In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People, and it's by George Simon Jr., PhD, and it opened a lot of doors for me, and it probably can for you as well. Until next time, have a great evening.